The coffee was still hot when my world imploded at 7:23 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was sitting in our renovated kitchen, scrolling through Instagram like any other morning, when Vanessa's latest post appeared on my feed. My wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, was in Paris, wearing that red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, her arm wrapped around Adrian Hawke's waist. The caption made my stomach drop. Living my best life with an old flame. Sorry, Lucas. Hashtag Paris vibes now. New beginnings. She'd tagged me. Classy. I'm Lucas Grant, 38 years old, and I run a cybersecurity consulting business from our home in Millbrook, Connecticut. I fix other people's digital problems for a living, and apparently, I was about to fix my own. My phone buzzed with notifications. Friends, neighbors, even my mother-in-law had seen the post. The comments were already pouring in. OMG, Vanessa. You go, girl. Lucas must be devastated. Devastated? No. Furious? Absolutely. I opened my laptop and got to work. Within 15 minutes, I'd frozen our joint checking account, locked down all our credit cards, disabled the automatic payments on her car lease, and changed the passwords on every shared account we had. My fingers moved across the keyboard with surgical precision. This was what I did best. The landline rang. Vanessa's panicked voice filled the kitchen through the speakerphone. Lucas, what the heck did you do? My card was declined at breakfast. The hotel is threatening to kick us out. Trip's canceled, honey. I said, my voice calm as ice. Enjoy Paris. Hope you brought cash. You can't do this. Half that money is mine. Was yours. Past tense. You want to play games? Let's play. I hung up and immediately called our lawyer, then our accountant. By noon, I'd filed for divorce and started documenting everything. Vanessa had just handed me the evidence I needed on a silver platter, but Adrian Hawke wasn't just any guy. He worked at the U.S. Embassy in France, had connections, influence. This wasn't going to be simple. My neighbor, Mrs. Carmody, knocked on my door around 2 o'clock. She was 75, sharp as a tack, and knew everyone's business before they did. Saw the Instagram post, she said, settling into my kitchen chair with a cup of coffee. That Adrian fellow was here last month when you were in Boston for work. My jaw tightened. Here? In my house? Saw his rental car in your driveway 3 different nights. Fancy BMW. Vanessa told me he was an old college friend passing through. The betrayal cut deeper. It wasn't just Paris. This had been going on for weeks, maybe months. My phone buzzed. Unknown international number. Mr. Grant, this is Deputy Chief of Mission Patricia Wells at the U.S. Embassy in Paris. I understand there's been some confusion regarding Mrs. Grant's financial situation. No confusion, I replied. My wife is having an affair with one of your employees. I've cut off her access to our accounts. That's my legal right. Mr. Grant, do you realize the diplomatic complications this could create? Mr. Hawke is a valued member of our team. Then maybe he should have thought about that before sleeping with my wife. The line went quiet for a moment. This matter requires delicate handling. I strongly suggest you reconsider your actions. Are you threatening me? I'm advising you that this situation has ramifications you may not fully understand. After she hung up, I sat back in my chair. They were trying to intimidate me, but they'd picked the wrong guy. I'd spent 15 years in cybersecurity, dealing with corporate bullies and government bureaucrats. I knew how to fight dirty when necessary. That evening, my friend Mick called. We'd known each other since college. He was ex-military, now worked as a bartender at the Rusty Anchor downtown. Straight talker, loyal to a fault. Saw the post, man, I'm sorry. What do you need? Information and maybe someone to watch my back. I have a feeling this is just getting started. You got it. Come by the bar tomorrow night. There's stuff you should know about Vanessa and her crowd. I spent the rest of the evening going through our financial records, looking for any other surprises. What I found made my stomach turn. Vanessa had been moving money out of our accounts for months. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger alerts, but it added up to nearly $30,000. She'd been planning this for a long time. Around midnight, my security system chimed. Motion detector in the backyard. I checked the cameras and saw a figure spray painting something on my garage door before running off into the darkness. In the morning, I found wife beater painted in deep red letters across the white door. The graffiti was just the beginning. Over the next 3 days, someone egged my car, left nasty notes in my mailbox, and even had pizza delivered to my house at 3 a.m, all paid for with cash. I knew this wasn't random vandalism. Someone was orchestrating a campaign to make me look like the villain in this story. On Thursday night, I met Mick at the Rusty Anchor. The bar was exactly what you'd expect. Dark wood, dim lighting, and regulars who'd been coming there since the Clinton administration. Mick was behind the bar, polishing glasses with the methodical precision of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. "You look like heck," he said, pouring me a whiskey. "Feel worse. Someone's been messing with me all week. Graffiti, vandalism, the works." "Yeah, about that." Mick leaned closer. "Vanessa's been coming here with her friend Cleo for months. They'd sit in that corner booth, drinking wine and talking loud enough for half the bar to hear. Cleo works at Vanessa's law firm. Legal secretary knows everyone's business." "What were they talking about?" "You, mostly. How you were holding Vanessa back, how she deserved better. Cleo was always encouraging her, telling her she should leave you for someone with more ambition. Like Adrian. That's the thing. They mentioned him by name. This wasn't some spontaneous reunion in Paris. They've been planning this for months." I took a sip of whiskey, letting it burn down my throat. "Someone's been vandalizing my property. Any idea who? Funny you should ask." Mick reached under the bar and pulled out a manila folder. "I did some asking around. Tommy Morrison, kid who works at the gas station down from your house. He's been flashing cash all week. Bought a new gaming system, expensive sneakers. His mom's wondering where he got the money." "You think he's my vandal? I think someone paid him to be. Question is who?" We didn't have to wait long to find out. Around 10 o'clock, I was walking to my car when I spotted a figure creeping around the back of my house with a spray paint can. I'd been expecting this. I'd set up motion-activated cameras earlier that day. "Tommy," I called out, stepping from behind my car. The kid, maybe 17, skinny, wearing a hoodie, froze like a deer in headlights. "Don't run," I said calmly. "I've got you on camera. Let's just talk." Tommy looked around desperately, then dropped the spray can and bolted. But I'd been ready for that too. I'd parked my car to block the back exit, and Mick was waiting by the front gate. We cornered him in my backyard, breathing hard and looking terrified. "Please don't call the cops," Tommy gasped. "I'll pay for the damage." "With what money, Bob Hine?" I asked. "The money someone gave you to vandalize my property?" Tommy's face went white. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Tommy, I used to work for the FBI's cybersecurity division. I know how to read people, and right now you're lying. Who paid you?" The kid looked back and forth between Mick and me, clearly weighing his options. "Some guy, he finally said. Foreign accent, maybe European. Drove a fancy car, gave me $500 to mess with your house." "What did he look like?" "Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. Said you'd hurt his friend and deserved what was coming to you." "Adrian. Even from Paris, he was pulling strings." "Here's what's going to happen," I told Tommy. "You're going to tell this exact story to the police, and you're going to clean every bit of paint off my garage. In return, I won't press charges. Deal?" Tommy nodded eagerly. Detective Sarah Fallon arrived 20 minutes later. She was in her 40s, no nonsense, with the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too much human stupidity. She took Tommy's statement, photographed the evidence, and asked me a lot of pointed questions. "So your wife's having an affair with someone who has diplomatic immunity, and now you're being targeted," she summarized. "Mr. Grant, this sounds like the beginning of something bigger. You need to be careful." "I'm always careful, Detective." "Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've poked a hornet's nest. These embassy people don't play fair." She was right, but I was past caring about fair. Vanessa and Adrian had declared war when they posted that photo. Now they were going to learn what happens when you mess with someone who knows how to fight back. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. "Mr. Grant, this is Customs and Border Protection at JFK Airport. We have a situation involving your wife." My pulse quickened. "What kind of situation?" "She attempted to enter the country using what appears to be fraudulent diplomatic documentation. We're holding her for questioning." "Fraudulent how?" "The passport shows diplomatic status, but when we contacted the State Department, they have no record of Mrs. Grant being entitled to diplomatic privileges." Adrian had tried to get Vanessa back into the country using forged documents. The arrogance was breathtaking, and it was also a federal crime. "What happens now?" I asked. "That depends on several factors." "Can you come to JFK? We need to verify some information." I was in my car within minutes, driving toward what I hoped would be the beginning of the end of this nightmare. But as I merged onto I-95, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real game was just getting started. JFK Airport was chaos, as always, but the Customs and Border Protection Office was an island of bureaucratic calm. Detective Fallon had agreed to meet me there. Apparently, Tommy's statement had opened a federal investigation into the intimidation campaign. Agent Rodriguez, no relation to anyone I knew, was a compact woman with steel gray hair and the demeanor of someone who'd spent her career dealing with people trying to game the system. "Your wife is in interview room 3, she told me. The diplomatic passport she presented is a very good forgery, but it's definitely fake. The question is where she got it." Through the one-way glass, I could see Vanessa sitting at a metal table, still wearing that red dress from the Instagram post. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "We've been in contact with the embassy in Paris," Agent Rodriguez continued. "They claim no knowledge of any diplomatic documentation being issued to Mrs. Grant. However, they're being somewhat evasive about Mr. Hawk's whereabouts. Meaning he left Paris yesterday on a diplomatic flight to Washington. He's back in the country." My blood ran cold. Adrian was here on American soil, probably pulling strings to get Vanessa released. "Can I talk to her?" "Actually, she's been asking for you. But Mr. Grant, I should warn you, this conversation will be recorded and anything you say could be used in legal proceedings." I nodded and entered the interview room. Vanessa looked up as I sat down across from her, her eyes red from crying. "Lucas, thank God. You have to help me. This is all a misunderstanding." "Is it?" "Because it looks to me like you tried to enter the country with forged documents. Adrian said it was legitimate. He said his diplomatic status extended to his guests. And you believed him?" Vanessa's composure cracked. "I didn't have a choice. You froze all our accounts. I couldn't even pay for a hotel room." "You had a choice. You could have come home and talked to me instead of posting our business on Instagram for the world to see." I was angry. I felt trapped in our marriage, like I was suffocating. "So you decided to humiliate me publicly and run off with your ex-boyfriend." Vanessa leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Lucas, please. I made a mistake. Adrian promised me things, told me he could give me the life I deserved. But it was all lies. He abandoned me at the airport when the customs agents started asking questions. For a moment, I saw the woman I'd married 8 years ago, vulnerable, scared, human. Then I remembered the Instagram post, the months of planning, the $30,000 she'd stolen. Where's the money, Vanessa? What money? The 30 grand you've been siphoning out of our accounts for the past 6 months. Her face went pale. How did you? I'm a cybersecurity expert. You think I wouldn't notice patterns in our financial records? Before she could answer, Agent Rodriguez knocked on the door. Mr. Grant, there's been a development. I followed her out of the interview room. Detective Fallon was waiting in the hallway, looking grim. We just got a call from your neighbor, Mrs. Carmody, Fallon said. Someone broke into your house about an hour ago. She saw a black BMW in your driveway and called it in. My house. Adrian was in my house. We need to go, I said. Mr. Grant, if someone's in your home, you should let us handle it. It's my house. I'm coming with you. The drive back to Millbrook took 45 minutes that felt like hours. Detective Fallon followed me in her patrol car, while Agent Rodriguez stayed at JFK to deal with Vanessa. My neighborhood looked normal, suburban quiet, kids playing in yards, the American dream in architectural form. But Mrs. Carmody was waiting on her front porch, pointing toward my house. The BMW's still there, she called out. Saw 2 people go in through the back door about an hour ago. 2 people. Adrian wasn't alone. We approached my house carefully, Detective Fallon leading with her tool drawn. The back door was jimmied open. Professional work. Barely any damage to the frame. Inside, I could hear voices coming from my home office upstairs, male and female, talking in urgent whispers. Police, Fallon called out. Come down with your hands visible. The voices stopped. Footsteps on the stairs. Adrian Hawk appeared first. Tall, dark-haired, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Behind him was a woman I recognized from Vanessa's social media. Cleo Martinez, her best friend and co-conspirator. There's been a misunderstanding, Adrian said smoothly, his accent faintly European. I was retrieving some personal items that Vanessa left here. Bees, I said. This is my house. You broke in. Actually, Cleo has a key. Vanessa gave it to her months ago. Cleo held up a silver key, smirking. I was just helping Adrian collect some things. Detective Fallon looked at me. Did you know Mrs. Martinez had a key to your house? I stared at Cleo, pieces clicking into place. No, I didn't, but I'm betting she's been using it for more than just collecting things. What's that supposed to mean? Cleo demanded. It means you've been in my house before. You've been helping Vanessa move money, plan this whole thing. You're not just her friend, you're her accomplice. Adrian stepped forward, his diplomatic smile faltering. Mr. Grant, I understand you're upset, but there's no need for wild accusations. Wild accusations? You paid a teenager to vandalize my property. You helped my wife forge diplomatic documents, and now you're burglarizing my house. I have diplomatic immunity, Adrian said coldly. You can't touch me. That's when I lost it. I grabbed Adrian by his expensive lapels and slammed him against the wall. Diplomatic immunity doesn't cover breaking and entering. You arrogant piece of... Lucas! Detective Fallon pulled me back. That's enough. But the damage was done. Adrian's mask had slipped, revealing the entitled sociopath underneath. You have no idea who you're dealing with, he snarled. I can destroy you with a phone call. Try it, I said. I've got security cameras throughout this house. I've got financial records showing the money Vanessa stole. I've got witness statements about your intimidation campaign. What do you have? A fake passport and diplomatic immunity that won't protect you from federal crimes. Adrian straightened his jacket, his composure returning. We'll see about that. He and Cleo left without another word, but not before I noticed something. Cleo had dropped her purse during the confrontation, spilling its contents across my hallway floor. Among the usual items, wallet, keys, makeup, was a USB drive. Detective Fallon was busy taking statements and photographs, so I palmed the drive without anyone noticing. Call it professional curiosity, but I had a feeling it contained something important. After everyone left, I plugged the USB drive into my computer and started exploring its contents. What I found made my blood boil. Financial records, email correspondence, and most incriminating of all, a detailed plan to frame me for domestic misuse, steal our joint assets, and disappear with Adrian to his next diplomatic posting. But there was something else, something that changed everything. The plan wasn't just Vanessa's and Adrian's. Cleo had been the mastermind all along, manipulating both of them for her own purposes. She'd been embezzling money from the law firm where she worked, using Vanessa's access to cover her tracks. The affair with Adrian was just a convenient distraction. I had them, all of them. But I wasn't going to turn the evidence over to the police, not yet. I was going to make them pay first. The law firm of Blackwood, Sterling & Associates occupied 3 floors of a glass tower in downtown Hartford. I'd been there exactly once before, for the company Christmas party 2 years ago. Vanessa had spent the entire evening networking, leaving me to make awkward small talk with lawyers and paralegals. Now I was back, but this time I wasn't playing the role of the supportive husband. I'd spent the weekend analyzing the contents of Cleo's USB drive, and what I'd found was a masterclass in white-collar crime. She'd been systematically stealing from client escrow accounts, moving money through a network of shell companies, and using Vanessa's legal credentials to authorize transfers. The total theft was close to $2 million. Monday morning, I walked into the firm's reception area wearing my best suit and carrying a leather briefcase. The receptionist, a young woman with perfect teeth and a practiced smile, looked up expectantly. I'm here to see Mr. Blackwood, I said. It's regarding Vanessa Grant and some irregularities in your client accounts. Do you have an appointment? Trust me, he'll want to see me. 20 minutes later, I was sitting across from Harrison Blackwood himself, senior partner, pillar of the community, and a man who clearly didn't appreciate having his Monday morning disrupted by unexpected visitors. Mr. Grant, I'm very sorry about your marital difficulties, but I don't see how they concern this firm. I opened my briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Because your employee, Cleo Martinez, has been stealing from your clients for the past 2 years, and she's been using my wife's access codes to do it. Blackwood's expression shifted from annoyed to alarmed as I spread financial documents across his desk. These are confidential firm records, he said. How did you obtain them? Does it matter? What matters is that you've got a thief in your organization and she's stolen nearly $2 million. I walked him through the evidence, the shell companies, the forged authorizations, the systematic looting of client accounts. By the time I finished, Blackwood looked like he might be sick. "If this is accurate," he said slowly, "it could destroy the firm. It gets worse. Cleo's been working with my wife and a State Department employee named Adrian Hawk. They were planning to disappear with the money and frame me for domestic misuse to cover their tracks. What do you want, Mr. Grant? Justice. And I want to be the one to deliver it." That afternoon, I met with Detective Fallon at the police station. She'd been investigating the break-in at my house and had some interesting news. "Adrian Hawk's diplomatic immunity isn't as bulletproof as he thinks," she said. "The State Department is very unhappy about the forged passport situation. They're conducting their own investigation." "What about Cleo?" "That's where things get interesting. We ran a background check after the break-in. She's got a sealed juvenile record and a history of financial crimes. Small stuff, but it shows a pattern." I leaned back in my chair. "I've got more than a pattern. I've got evidence of systematic embezzlement." I showed her the USB drive contents, watching her eyes widen as she processed the scope of the theft. "Jesus, Lucas, this is federal crime territory. How long have you known about this?" "Since Friday. I wanted to understand the full scope before I brought it to you. You should have come to us immediately. Maybe, but I wanted to make sure all three of them went down together." Detective Fallon studied me carefully. "What aren't you telling me?" "I'm telling you everything you need to know to build a case. What I do with the rest is my business." That evening, Mick and I met at the Rusty Anchor to plan our next move. The bar was quiet. Monday nights usually were. And we had a corner booth to ourselves. "So what's the play?" Mick asked. "Blackwood's calling an emergency partners meeting tomorrow morning. They're going to confront Cleo with the evidence and probably fire her on the spot. And then she's going to panic and try to contact Vanessa and Adrian. When she does, I'll be listening." I pulled out a small device, a GPS tracker with audio capabilities. I planted this in her car while she was at work today, completely legal since she used her car in the commission of a crime on my property. Mick grinned. "You sneaky devil. I learned from the best. Military intelligence, right?" "That's right. So what's the end game here?" "Public humiliation. Complete destruction of their reputations. And every penny they stole returned to its rightful owners. Sounds like justice to me." But as we sat there planning, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something important. The USB drive had been too convenient. Cleo's involvement too obvious. In my experience, when something looked too good to be true, it usually was. I was about to find out just how right I was. The next morning, I parked across the street from Blackwood, Sterling & Associates and activated the listening device in Cleo's car. At 9:15 a.m., my phone buzzed with an incoming audio feed. Cleo was crying, her voice broken and desperate. "Adrian, they know everything. Blackwood has bank records, transfer authorizations, everything. We need to leave the country now." Adrian's voice was calm, controlled. "Slow down. What exactly do they have?" "Financial records going back 2 years. They know about the shell companies, the client accounts, all of it." "How is that possible? We were careful?" "I don't know. Lucas must have hacked into our system somehow." There was a long pause. Then Adrian spoke again, and his words chilled me to the bone. "Actually, I think I know exactly how he got that information. You dropped your purse at his house, didn't you?" "Yes, but the USB drive, Cleo. You had a backup drive in your purse." Oh, God, I'm so stupid." "No, you're not stupid. You're just not as clever as you think you are. Neither is Lucas." "What do you mean?" "I mean, this is working out perfectly. Lucas thinks he's playing us, but he's actually playing himself." My blood turned to ice. What was Adrian talking about? "I don't understand," Cleo said. "The USB drive you dropped, it wasn't an accident, was it? You've been planning this for months, using Vanessa and me as cover for your embezzlement scheme. But you got greedy, and now you need scapegoats." "That's not—" "Save it. I've been investigating you since Paris. Did you really think I'd trust someone who betrayed her best friend?" The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Cleo hadn't just been helping Vanessa and Adrian. She'd been manipulating them from the beginning. The affair, the Instagram post, even the break-in at my house had all been orchestrated to create chaos while she looted the law firm. But Adrian had figured it out. And now he was about to throw her under the bus. "Here's what's going to happen," Adrian continued. You're going to disappear. Tonight. I'll give you 24 hours before I turn over my evidence to the FBI. What evidence? Recordings of our conversations, financial records showing your real activities, and a very detailed statement about how you manipulated Vanessa into the affair to provide cover for your crimes. Cleo was sobbing now. You can't do this to me. I can and I will, unless what? Unless you do exactly what I tell you. There's one more job I need you to do, one that will solve all our problems. The line went quiet for a long moment. What kind of job? Cleo finally asked. The kind that makes Lucas Grant disappear permanently. I ripped the earphones off and grabbed my phone, dialing Detective Fallon's number with shaking fingers. This wasn't just about money anymore. They were planning to end me. Detective Fallon took the threat seriously. Within an hour, I was in protective custody while she coordinated with federal agents to set up surveillance on Adrian and Cleo. But I had a different plan in mind. I want to be the bait, I told her. Absolutely not. These people are talking about homicide, Lucas. They're talking about it because they think I'm helpless. But I'm not. I've got advantages they don't know about. We were sitting in an interview room at the Hartford Police Department, surrounded by case files and empty coffee cups. Agent Rodriguez had driven up from New York to coordinate the federal response, and she looked as skeptical as Detective Fallon. Mr. Grant, I understand you want justice, but this isn't a movie. Real people die when they play games with criminals. Real people are already dying, I said. Cleo's embezzled $2 million from client accounts. Some of that money was earmarked for medical treatments, college funds, retirement savings. She's destroyed lives. So we arrest her. On what charges? Financial crimes that will take years to prosecute while she sits in minimum security prison? I want all three of them to face consequences for what they've done. Detective Fallon leaned forward. What are you proposing? The law firm is having their annual gala this Saturday night. 500 of Hartford's most prominent citizens, including judges, politicians, and media personalities. What if Cleo, Adrian, and Vanessa were publicly exposed in front of everyone who matters in this city? You want to turn a charity event into a crime scene? I want to turn it into a reckoning. Agent Rodriguez shook her head. Too many variables. Too many ways for innocent people to get hurt. Then help me control the variables. You've got surveillance on all three targets. You know their plans. Use that knowledge to set the terms of engagement. After 2 hours of argument, we reached a compromise. The federal agents would maintain surveillance and be ready to intervene if things went wrong. Detective Fallon would coordinate with local police to secure the gala venue, and I would wear a wire and GPS tracker at all times. But the real plan, the one I didn't share with law enforcement, was much more elaborate. I spent the next 3 days preparing. First, I reached out to my contacts in the cybersecurity world and arranged for some very special technical support. Then I contacted Harrison Blackwood and convinced him to give me access to the firm's audio-visual systems at the gala venue. You're sure this will work? He asked nervously. Trust me. By Saturday night, your firm's reputation will be restored, and the people responsible will face justice. And if it goes wrong, then you can blame everything on the vengeful ex-husband who went rogue. Saturday evening arrived gray and drizzling, typical October weather in Connecticut. The gala was being held at the Hartford Club, a century-old institution that reeked of old money and older secrets. I arrived early, ostensibly to help with the technical setup, but really to make final preparations for the evening's entertainment. Vanessa arrived at 7:30, looking stunning in a black evening gown. She'd made bail earlier in the week and was trying to maintain appearances while her lawyers negotiated a plea deal. She spotted me across the room and approached with the confidence of someone who still thought she held cards in this game. Lucas, I didn't expect to see you here. Wouldn't miss it for the world. How's the legal situation? My attorney says the passport charges will probably be reduced to a misdemeanor. First offense, no prior record, that sort of thing. What about the embezzlement charges? Her confident mask slipped slightly. What embezzlement charges? The ones that are coming when the FBI finishes analyzing Cleo's financial records. You did know about Cleo's side business, didn't you? Vanessa's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The shell companies, the client account transfers, the $2 million she's stolen over the past 2 years. Your access codes were used for half the transactions. That's impossible. I never authorized any... She stopped, realization dawning. Cleo had access to my computer. She said she needed to check case files when I was in court. Congratulations. You've just figured out that your best friend has been using you as a patsy for a massive embezzlement scheme. Before Vanessa could respond, Cleo appeared at her elbow, looking nervous and overdressed in a sequined gown that screamed desperation. Vanessa, there you are. We need to talk. Yes, we do, Vanessa said coldly. Lucas just told me some very interesting things about your financial activities. Cleo shot me a venomous look. Lucas doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't he? Because the FBI seems to think otherwise. The color drained from Cleo's face. What FBI? The ones investigating the forged passport Adrian got for me. Turns out they're very thorough when it comes to background checks. I watched the two women stare at each other, years of friendship dissolving in mutual accusations and recriminations. It was almost too easy. Ladies, I said pleasantly, I hate to interrupt this touching reunion, but I believe the program is about to begin. Harrison Blackwood was taking the stage, preparing to welcome the guests and introduce the evening's speakers. But tonight's program would be slightly different than advertised. Before we begin our formal presentations, Blackwood announced, I'd like to address a matter of significant importance to our firm and our community. The room fell quiet. 500 of Hartford's elite turned their attention to the stage, where a large screen was descending from the ceiling. Recently, it came to our attention that our firm had been the victim of a sophisticated embezzlement scheme, Blackwood continued. Tonight, we want to share with you the evidence we've uncovered and the steps we're taking to ensure justice is served. The screen lit up with financial documents, bank records, and email correspondence, all the evidence from Cleo's USB drive, but professionally formatted and annotated for maximum impact. Cleo tried to run, but Detective Fallon was waiting by the exit. Going somewhere? She asked, handcuffs already in hand. The room erupted in shocked murmurs as the full scope of the embezzlement scheme was revealed. $2 million stolen from client accounts, forged authorizations using Vanessa's access codes, shell companies designed to launder the stolen funds. But that was just the opening act. The embezzlement was facilitated by several accomplices, Blackwood continued, including State Department employee Adrian Hawk and attorney Vanessa Grant. Adrian, who had been trying to slip out through a side door, found his path blocked by federal agents. His diplomatic immunity wouldn't protect him from conspiracy charges in a federal embezzlement case. The screen switched to a new set of documents, the recordings I'd made of Adrian and Cleo's conversations, transcribed and verified by federal investigators. The plan to frame me for domestic misuse, the forged diplomatic passport, and most incriminating of all, the recorded discussion about making me disappear permanently. Vanessa stood frozen in the middle of the room as 500 pairs of eyes focused on her. Judges who had respected her legal work, politicians who had solicited her campaign contributions, social acquaintances who had envied her lifestyle. All of them now knew the truth. The investigation is ongoing, Blackwood concluded, but we wanted to be transparent with our community about these criminal activities and our commitment to making full restitution to the affected clients. As federal agents moved through the room making arrests, I found myself standing alone near the bar, watching my carefully orchestrated revenge play out exactly as planned. Cleo would face federal embezzlement charges carrying a 20-year sentence. Adrian's diplomatic career was over, and he'd be lucky to avoid prison time for conspiracy and document fraud. Vanessa would lose her law license, face criminal charges, and spend the rest of her life paying restitution to the clients whose money she'd helped steal. Their reputations were destroyed. Their careers were finished. Their freedom was forfeit. And I had done it all without breaking a single law. Detective Fallon approached me as the last of the arrests were being made. Satisfied? She asked. Justice has been served. That's all I ever wanted. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like the most elaborate revenge scheme I've ever seen. Maybe, but revenge and justice aren't mutually exclusive. Sometimes they're the same thing. As I walked out of the Hartford Club into the cool October night, I thought about the Instagram post that had started this whole mess. Vanessa in her red dress, laughing with Adrian, announcing to the world that she was living her best life. Well, now she could live her best life in a federal penitentiary. I got in my car and drove home to Millbrook, where Mrs. Carmody was waiting on her front porch with a cup of coffee and a knowing smile. Saw the news, she said. Quite a party you threw tonight. Justice is always worth celebrating. What happens now? I looked at my house, our house, where Vanessa and I had built a life together, where she had betrayed me, where Adrian and Cleo had violated my privacy and my trust. Now I start over. Clean slate, new beginning. Any regrets? I thought about that for a long moment. 8 years of marriage, shared dreams and broken promises. Love turned to betrayal. Trust transformed into revenge. No, I said finally. No regrets at all. The next morning, I filed the final divorce papers. By the end of the week, I'd put the house on the market and started looking for a new place to live. Somewhere without memories, without ghosts, without the lingering scent of betrayal in every room. Vanessa called me from jail exactly once. Lucas, please, I know you're angry, but we can work this out. I'll testify against Cleo and Adrian. I'll cooperate with the investigation. There's nothing to work out, Vanessa. You made your choices. I was manipulated. Cleo used me. Adrian lied to me. I'm a victim too. No, you're not. Victims don't steal $30,000 from joint accounts. Victims don't humiliate their spouses on social media. Victims don't help forge diplomatic documents. So this is it? 8 years of marriage and you're just going to throw it all away? I didn't throw anything away. You did. The moment you posted that photo from Paris. I hung up and blocked her number. 3 months later, I was living in a condo in Boston, running my cybersecurity business remotely, and dating a forensic accountant named Sarah, who found my story fascinating rather than scandalous. Cleo was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution. Adrian was dismissed from the State Department and received a 10-year sentence for conspiracy and document fraud. Vanessa pled guilty to embezzlement conspiracy and received 5 years, with the possibility of early release if she continued cooperating with federal investigators. The law firm survived the scandal, largely because of Harrison Blackwood's transparent handling of the situation at the gala. They even sent me a thank you note and a substantial consulting fee for my role in uncovering the embezzlement. I framed the note and hung it in my new office, right next to a screenshot of Vanessa's Instagram post from Paris. A reminder of how it all started and how it all ended. Sometimes people ask me if I feel guilty about what I did to Vanessa, Cleo, and Adrian. If I think my revenge went too far. The answer is simple. They declared war on me the moment they decided to steal my money, destroy my reputation, and threaten my life. I just fought back with better tools and superior tactics. In the end, justice isn't about forgiveness or redemption or second chances. Sometimes justice is just about making sure the people who hurt you face consequences for their actions. And sometimes if you're very careful and very smart and very patient, you get to be the one who delivers those consequences personally. Funny thing about trips, sometimes you don't get to come home.